This is News at 8. From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
Now, coming up in the bulletin tonight, doctors at public hospitals call off month-long strike. Journalists probing unprecedented traffic hold-up on Spintex Road, detained by security officers of renowned evangelist Prophet T.B. Joshua. Sofo Line interchange project in Kumasi to suffer further delays over refusal by a homeowner to accept a $500,000 Ghana cedi compensation to allow the road to run through his house. Meanwhile, the iconic Adomi bridge is to be closed for nearly 2 years to allow major rehabilitation works. In the election petition hearing, justices overruled petitioners' objection to the cross-examination of their star witness on the basis of a pink sheet they say should not be allowed. And then we have business news having to do with the projected decline of the local currency, as well as sports and showbiz, all coming up.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
In our very first story, doctors in the public sector have called off their one-month-old strike. A statement released shortly after a news conference directs the doctors to fully restore their services with effect from May 8, 2013. The doctors embarked on the strike following disagreement on the implementation of the single spine salary structure. Among other things, the doctors were negotiating for a better market premium, pensions, and the payment of arrears. President of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Kwabena Eduse-Poku, told Joy News they have called off the strike following the intervention by the National Labour Commission. He however adds that government has at least 1 month to implement the directives spelled out by the NLC. We're joined on the line by the Vice President of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Soji Tete. Good evening to you, Dr. Soji Tete.
Good evening, Israel. How are you doing?
Are you able to tell us what exactly it is that the NLC told you that got you this time round to call off the strike?
Well, I mean, the issues were clear. We had something pertaining to market premium, and we were not calling for a new market premium or better market premium, but for what had been negotiated in the past to be according to an agreed schedule. So we have reached some agreement on the schedule of the market premium that needs to be paid. The second issue has to do with the conversion difference, and there was lack of clarity as to whether the conversion difference was going to be paid or not. Indeed, the Labour Commission set up another subcommittee to look at this matter of the conversion difference, and at the end of the day, the conclusion was that the directive that was given by the National Labour Commission was that the conversion difference needed to be restored, and then also all the arrears needed to be paid. But then the matter of the schedule had to be agreed between both parties, to be effected. So, we had always made a point that it was not a question of the doctors being paid at once, before they would call off the action. But we just needed the employer to come to the understanding that this was an agreement that had been reached. When you look at the government white paper on some of how these terms were defined, it was very clear. And as long as that admission was made and we could reach an agreement on the payment schedule, the GMA was ready and willing to call off the strike action.
Okay, now, Doc, I'm just saying that this agreement, you've reached certain agreements with the NLC, the Fair Wages Commission, and government in several instances. But I'm saying, what is it that got you this time around to move?
Well, prior to this action, the position was that we did not deserve the conversion difference. So this is actually the first time that we've managed to get both the Public Sector Joint Standing Negotiating Committee and the Labour Commission itself to pronounce on this matter. And it is documented on paper. And tomorrow we would be in a position to tender that directive in court. and give it to the judge and say that this is a payment that has been reached. There's concession on the part of the employer that the doctors do deserve this amount, and what remains is to outline the payment schedule. So this is really the first time that that kind of admission has been made.
Okay, granted.
We found it was significant.
Yeah, granted. Now, you were also asking for some guarantees from government that indeed you were going to be paid certain amounts. Have you gotten that guarantee, or you're waiving that request for the guarantee?
No, it is that guarantee that we have. The guarantee was for government to concede that the doctors were entitled to the convention difference, and that the deduction, as had been effected sometime in the past by the Controller Accountant General's Department, was faulty. And government's position had been that it needed to go through the committees that had been set up by the state agencies, i.e. the Fair Wages, and then also the Public Sector Joint Standing Negotiation Committee. And today, this morning, there was a meeting was held by the Public Sector Joint Standing Negotiating Committee. And they took the position that, one, the arrears of the convention difference needed to be paid according to an agreed schedule, and then two, going forward, it needed to be restored. So once that commitment was made, we knew that yes, this was a solution, a very clear-cut solution to the problem that we have been complaining about for some time.
All right. Now, my final question to you is in the statement that you've released, you're alluding to here in third note, you said we entreat the NLC to bear in mind that and respect the 1-month deadline given to GMA and Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to abide by its directive. Is there a suggestion that after a month you intend to resume your action?
Oh, well, we do not want to preempt any actions. We also do not want to work on the assumption that Labour Commission will not be up to its task. Indeed, if you look at the fourth point, we are saying that also in the interest of fairness and justice, Labour Commission should learn to bite on both sides when it is not just the Labour that is at fault, but it is also the employer that is at fault. And so in this case, by its own directive, it is given the Fair Wages and the GM a month to be able to outline an implementation plan now that the concession has been made that convention defense needs to be paid. And we are hoping that all sides will make use of this opportunity. At least we have given ample evidence that we intend to abide by the process. We hope that the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the National Labour Commission will make similar commitments.
All right, thank you very much. You heard Dr. Soji Tete is with the Ghana Medical Association, and the news is that the doctors have decided to call off their strike. They announced this at a news conference earlier today. In other news, the relative calm that was restored to the Central Business District of Accra after last night's disturbances degenerated again this morning when irate traders at the burnt-out Kantamanto market renewed their clashes with security officers deployed there. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly yesterday announced plans to reconstruct the market into a modern one to enhance trading activities, but the traders are skeptical because they fear they will never be allowed into the facility once it is rebuilt. Many of them gathered this morning to protest the refusal by the security officers to allow them access.
Traders started massing up at the entrance of the market Tuesday morning, closing in from various angles of the market. They wielded placards, chanted and sang to register their displeasure about authorities clearing up the market for a reconstruction. Some went to the extent of stripping themselves naked, while others were arrested by the police. Police personnel deployed to guard the police suddenly fired warning shots and tear gas to disperse the traders. But the police denied using warning shots to disperse the crowd.
There was one particular man who was going on with a megaphone, inciting the crowd to throw stones at us. And that was what compelled us to use the tear gas to disperse them. Lethal weapons, we are not using them. We only have to contain them. We are not acting because as they come, we are not doing anything to them. We have to wait and they should cooperate. We have to cooperate together and see how we can move the city forward. Vice
Chairman of the Kantamanto Traders Association, Evans Oforiata, noted they are in talks with a private contractor to put up the structures for them.
Many commander Kasase Panicho, only the man in free attention to Munquachi. Nayasuani, a man on Yasum Boko. And about me, Asumdie, Namakacha mini panso, Bianya Basabasawa, and the president for Yasromo, what the Amon call no more Yamba with Troma, no Bianya Basabasawa, Yasromo. You will list our railways and near 50 years, and German Fia Ducra. At your list, I am Krata, I am Noye. It is a Yasia, your coin, CS, Yania Toya dear. Yanya, a private contractor. Oh, see a Janamaya, and who can you know? Yasica, Bessie, Ediasrano, Yapanicho, on your baby Maya, your Bessie, Adiamano.
At the time of filing this report, the police had managed to restore calm, but traders had refused to move away from the area.
Meanwhile, leaders of agitating traders at the Kantamanto market have resolved to allow the Accra Metropolitan Assembly lead the way in the reconstruction of the burnt-out market. Briefing the media after a crunch closed-door meeting between leadership of the traders, Chief of Staff, Prosper Bani, and other government functionaries at the Flagstaff House, Deputy Information Minister Felix Ofosu-Kwakye said the traders expressed regret and apologized for unsavory comments made against government and expressed interest in partnering government to rebuild the market. Government was of the opinion that though none of the comments will be held against them, any act of indiscipline on their part would not be countenanced. For now, he says the area would be treated as a security zone.
We have learned that unfortunate behavior was brought about by an unfounded rumor that was being peddled by some individuals to the effect that government, through the mayor of Accra, had sold the land that had gotten burnt to some Chinese developers to put up a new market. Now, once the fire had been brought under control, it was necessary to ensure that the debris was cleared in order not to further aggravate the situation. And so heavy-duty equipment was moved in to clear the debris that had been created as a result of the fire. Now, the traders construed this effort to clear the debris to mean a confirmation of the rumor that indeed the land had been sold to some Chinese developers and work had already started. They also entertained fears that once the market was reconstructed by this supposed Chinese developer, they were going to be priced out of selling space. And so that fueled the sort of, if you like, violent scenes. Neither government nor any individual in government has been engaged in any attempt to sell any part of the Kantamanto market to any Chinese developer, as was alleged yesterday. So at the meeting, the Chief of Staff, together with the Minister for Interior, the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, the Mayor of Accra, and the Greater Accra Regional Minister, all took turns to assure.
The Deputy Information Minister added government has assured the traders that just as the Vice President had communicated on the day of the fire, all efforts to meet them halfway in their loss would be pursued. However, they did not give any specifics as to how the exercise would be carried out. Meanwhile, the fire service has rejected criticism that it is to blame for the recurring fires, especially in markets in recent times. It says rather than point fingers at the service, future fires can be averted as much as possible if the Ghana Water Company and the Metropolitan and District Assemblies are tasked to play their roles effectively. According to the service, its recommendations after investigations into the causes of fires are often ignored.
The country has experienced several fire outbreaks, with markets recording the highest of such cases. Statistics from the Ghana National Fire Service indicates that in the first quarter of 2013 alone, 49 commercial fire outbreaks have been recorded in the Ashanti region, the highest so far. None was recorded between January and March in the Greater Accra region until the recent fire outbreak at the Kantamanto market. The fire service maintains congestion and illegal electricity connections are the main causes of these fires.
You have people tapping electricity from their friends, without getting qualified electricians to do that for them. You have people using multiple sockets with a lot of plugs in it, which is not supposed to be like that. You have people organizing chop bars in the market, and they do a lot of cooking. For instance, in Kantamanto, there is a section where the place is more or less like a laundry. People put some metallic iron into open fires for them to use to iron second-hand clothing. When you get there, the level of heat over there, even the health hazards associated to it is something else. So there is a lot of illegal activity going on in the market, and these things are causing the fire outbreaks that we are seeing.
For him, agencies charged to implement the recommendations in their investigative reports have not been up to the task.
We conduct fire audits in these markets, and then we submit the reports to the municipal district authorities. They take care of these markets, a lot of these markets, they take care of it. So we submit our reports, and we expect that they implement the reports or the recommendations that we've made in these reports. It is the duty of water company to provide hydrant, and we use the water in the hydrant to do our work. If there are illegal connections in the market, the electricity company is supposed to handle that aspect.
The service believes fire outbreaks in the markets could be avoided if stakeholders will collectively play their respective roles. Getting access to markets during an outbreak of fire remains a challenge for the Ghana National Fire Service, but moving forward, the service plans to enforce relaxed laws over the years.
Per our law, we are supposed to close down premises who don't meet fire regulations. We need to have access to the market during fire outbreaks. And for that matter, we advise the AMA, the Metropolitan District Assemblies, to engage the fire service to ensure that we have these things in place. If it should take breaking down some parts of the market to ensure that the right thing is done, I think that is the best way.
The Spintex Road, notorious for its heavy traffic, today saw unusually massive congestion, apparently due to a religious program being held along the route. The event at the Synagogue Church of All Nations had attracted Christians from all walks of life, eager to have an encounter with the leader, Prophet T.B. Joshua. Joy News was there to cover what could easily go down as probably Accra's worst traffic jam.
Vehicular movement, especially from the Accra Mall towards Manet Junction on the Spintex Road, An industrial enclave, also noted for several residential estates, virtually ground to a halt. Vehicles sat motionless on the road for hours on end. Cars were parked haphazardly on the shoulders of the road and at any available space, making it difficult for both motorists and other road users. Others, especially commuters in commercial vehicles, at some point simply gave up on being motorized, preferring to walk the rest of the journey. Though the police motor traffic and transport unit eventually intervened, their impact was minimal. Accra Regional Commander, Chief Superintendent Ahaji Mohammed Suraj, blamed the organizers for failing to notify the police.
The organizers should have informed us much earlier to have advised that because of the crowd, we could have strategically deployed or contact metro mass buses that has high occupancy rate to be strategically located at Kwame Nkrumah Circle, Labadi, and so forth. Here you can see almost everybody want to come. And these are saloon cars that are small occupancy rate, 2-3 people. Everybody want to come. The space is woefully inadequate for the number of cars that we have here.
Some drivers, out of frustration, abandoned their vehicles or opted for the rough Teshin-Bush road to get to their destination. The event is meanwhile just the opening session of a 2-day healing and deliverance service, which is bound to attract even more patrons tomorrow, especially with the publicity the session is expected to enjoy, courtesy the unprecedented traffic. TB Joshua is well respected for his works on Emmanuel TV, which has attracted a number of the country's politicians. The late President Mills was once featured on one of the church's sessions.
Well, security personnel from the Synagogue Church of All Nations Ghana branch today detained some journalists, including a Joy News crew, ostensibly for filming the 2-day crusade taking place on the Spintex Road here in Accra without permission. The police had to be called in to free the journalists who were in detention for more than an hour in a room on the church's premises.
The crew, wondering what was drawing so many people to the church to cause such a traffic spillover on the Spintex Road, chanced upon an outdoor service.
Praise the Lord. I don't know why people are not answering me now. Are you not happy to be here? Praise the Lord.
The outdoor congregation, in their thousands, in the scorching sun, were being offered these neem tree branches for 1 Ghana cedi each. But few minutes into the filming, however, the security came charging at the crew from behind. The 4 well-built security officers escorted the crew to a room where we found another crew that had been detained from 6 in the morning without explanation. The officers would not budge to the crew's demand to be released after they pointed out to them the detention was unlawful. Following SOS calls to the office, the police eventually came to the rescue. The public relations officer of the church has since called to apologize for the actions of the church security, explaining they had not been adequately trained.
Put your hands together for Jesus.
Well, President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Afel Moni, has called on the police service to open investigations into the detention of the 4 journalists, including 2 from Multi TV by security personnel at the Synagogue Church of All Nations here in Accra. Speaking earlier on Top Story, the GGA president described the detention of the journalists as terrifying and asked the police to ensure justice is served since no one is above the law.
This latest incident, it's so mind-boggling and so terrifying. Coming at a time with one issue involving the military against 2 of our people. In fact, no excuse can justify the mistreatment of journalists under horrendous circumstances. So we urge the police to go into this matter with urgent promptitude. I listened to the police officer who said a formal complaint will have to be lodged before they go into the matter. I beg to differ. Just because they have enough evidence to investigate this matter and then the perpetrators according to the laws of this land. Prophet Joshua, yes, he's made his name in the spiritual realm. At the same time, the law must work. The law is no respect of any person, irrespective of your spiritual pedigree or social status. Even our Constitution says that in Article 15 specifically, that the dignity of all persons shall be inviolable. That's Article 15.1. And Article 15.2 says, any person, whether arrested, detained, or restricted, shall never be subjected to torture or any form of indignity. But look at this example. the level of indignity is indescribable. So we urge the police once again, please, you have enough evidence to go into this matter, and nothing should hinder you from doing just that. And we resolve to join forces to ensure that the perpetrators of this heinous crime are punished.
We're taking a break now, but we have more news coming up. Don't go away. Connects Kumasi to Sunyani, and this way behind schedule is likely to suffer further delays. According to the project engineers, the completion of the road is being held up because the private homeowner whose residence is along the route is refusing to accept a 500,000 Ghana cedis compensation for the house to be demolished so the project can succeed. ABP Consult Limited, the consulting engineer for the project, is worried it will not be completed before the new June 2014 deadline if government does not intervene somehow.
Construction works on the Sofo Line Road project started in 2007. The project is solely funded by the government of Ghana and will serve as a major corridor for goods and commodities, as well as commuters moving between Kumasi and Sunyani. Under the contract agreement, the original completion date was in 2010. The completion date was, however, extended another 18 months. Government has, however, since granted another 18 months extension as a result of delayed payment of certificates, which led to the suspension of construction works for some 9 months. But the consulting engineer says the impasse between the contractor and a private homeowner is threatening the new date.
That individual is holding the public to ransom because he brought in his private valuer to value the property. Land Valuation Board, which is government valuers, they valued the property to be about 500,000 plus. In fact, originally, we were not going to demolish the whole building. We were demolishing half. So the value was even less. And he said, when we demolish half of it, he can't use the other half. So we should go in and demolish the whole building. We agreed and got Land Valuation to value the whole building. And he brought his private valuer to value it. And now he's even disagreeing with his private valuer. And we can't demolish until there has been an agreement. In fact, if there is an agreement, then we can even demolish on a note that the money will be paid. But there haven't been any agreement. And now he's adamant.
When completed, the road will be 11 kilometers in length and will comprise asphaltic concrete paved 6 lanes dual carriageway, an interchange bridge, pedestrian underpasses, and a central flood lighting system. Meanwhile, Minister of Roads and Highways Alhaji Amin Suleimana has expressed his satisfaction at the pace of several road projects in the Kumasi metropolis.
If you have known some of these roads before, particularly this stretch where we are now, then Kwanta, Damanko, going back to Jaskan Road, if I had known it before the present state, you will appreciate that there's a lot of work going on. Despite the challenges that we have in terms of our inability to honor the payment certificates of the contractors, but I think that I would say overall they've done a good job and they are doing well. Most of the roads that we have the challenges in payment are those that we are committing funds from our own resources. And, since 2007, thereabout, a lot of major roads have been put on the GOG, like the Tatakwache, Malam Lagon Road, Tatakwache, the Suhum Road, the Afonko Junction, all those have been on GOG. So even though there are challenges, I think that the Ghana government has done very well. Most of this is from our own resources. So as I said, of late, the challenges that we have with our resources. A lot of competing demands for salaries and for so many things. So that's why we are having difficulties in honoring the payments. But certainly Ghana government will pay.
Several roads, including the tech.
Now, the Adomi Bridge, one of the country's major landmarks, is to be closed to traffic for major rehabilitation works from next month. The bridge will remain closed for the nearly 2 years that the project is expected to last and will cost some 13 million euros. Government has meanwhile secured 2 ferries to transport passengers across the Volta River at Atimpoku, where the bridge is located.
Believed to have been designed after the famous London Bridge in the UK, The Adomi Bridge is a major link for passengers traveling from Greater Accra to the Volta region of Ghana. It is estimated that on a daily basis, over 120,000 people use the bridge to transact business. Tagged Ghana's only suspension bridge, the bridge spans a distance of about 150 meters across the Volta Lake. Its arch spans about 805 feet, while the bridges rise to a height of 219 feet above the Volta Lake. Over the years, the bridge has served as an iconic landmark in the country, attracting tourists. A drive on the bridge takes about 2 minutes, whilst it takes an average of about 5 minutes or more to walk across the edifice. But after 57 years of its existence, officials say the bridge is no longer safe for both vehicles and people to commute on.
No, the bridge was built over 50 years old. So the design at that time and the loadings at that time has changed. Vehicles have become heavier. And we have what we call fatigue. You know, hot weather, it expands. Cold weather, it contracts. Expansion contracts. So that's what happened to the transverse beams, the beams carrying the deck. After we realized they needed to be redesigned and replaced. So basically that's what we're going to do now.
5 years ago, the bridge underwent major rehabilitation works when one of the steel beams supporting the bridge developed structural cracks. Officials from the Ghana Highway Authority quickly moved in to resolve the situation, but the repair works did not stand the test of time. Since that time till now, officials have carried 4 major rehabilitation works on the bridge, but to no avail. Now the bridge shakes dangerously when vehicles use it. Officials say the bridge would need to be reconstructed to ensure its longevity.
Rehabilitation works involves the replacement of the entire bridge deck. So the entire bridge deck will be removed.
First, we take away the concrete of the steel deck. So the first 20 meters, so we work section-wise, because you see the ropes are every 10 meters. So we always take away 20 meters. Concrete will be removed. Then we take out the old steel deck. Then we install the new steel deck, fix the hangers, and then let's say we are already safe and we can move on the new steel deck with the trucks. By end of next year, everything has to be finished according to schedule.
Thank you very much. We'll leave it.
The absence of the Adomi Bridge will mean that commuters traveling to the Volta region will have to use the Sugakope Road. So the Ghana Highway Authority says it has put in the necessary structures to cater for the many inconveniences the reconstruction of the bridge will pose to Ghanaians.
Government had to source for funding to provide a ferry to cross the river. And the site selected was the Senchi Ferry. The Senchi Ferry site was selected because this happened to be the ferry site before the Adomi Bridge was built. So we then had to come to the ferry site. We came to have an inspection at it and realized the site was still good for the new ferries. The ferries are being manufactured in the Netherlands. We hope to have them getting to the end of June. That's when the ferries will arrive. And then we have 2 ferries are coming. They'll be arriving somewhere in the end, getting to the end of June. They'll be commissioned and hope they'll start working in July. Meanwhile, the contractors for the rehabilitation works on the Adomi Bridge are also on site now. What they're doing, they are just putting up their camps. The bridge will not be closed until the ferries have been commissioned.
The 2 ferries will be located at Senchi, near Timpoku, and can take on the average 30 vehicles per trip.
Now, the Supreme Court has ruled to allow counsel for the third respondent in the election petition hearing, Chachu Tikata, to introduce pink sheets categorized as outside the evidence of the petitioners. The ruling came after a long pause by the panel of judges to consider objections raised by a lawyer for the petitioners, Philip Addison. Counsel for petitioners had accused Mr. Chikata, a lawyer for the National Democratic Congress, for starting an entirely new case within the hearing of the election petition. Now, news just coming is that there's been another fire outbreak, this time at the Mokula Market behind the Public Works Department in the Central Business District. We're following up on the story. We expect to bring you some further detail before we wrap up the bulletin. Up next, though, we bring you business news.
news.
Financial analysts has downplayed fears the local currency will experience an unprecedented freefall this year. A report by Bloomberg quoting some local analysts has suggested the cedi will end the year at 2 cedis to the US dollar. It has already weakened by about 3% this year and could go another 5% owing to greater demand for imports. Head of Databank Research Samson Aklego, however, says there is no cause for alarm, explaining the fall is being exaggerated.
The report, describing the Ghana cedi as the worst performing currency in West Africa, says the currency will decline to an all-time record low at the end of the year. Some think tanks have since latched at the report to suggest an imminent unprecedented fall of the cedi, they says, will trigger astronomical increases in prices of goods. Though Mr. Aklego does not quite share their apprehensions, he explains the pressure on the cedi is to be expected, especially because the country heavily depends on imports.
Developments in your current account reflects the position of your currency. And when you look at what is happening in the market now, you realize that most of the major exports for Ghana, their prices are not strong this year. And if that is happening, it means that the FS inflows for the country are not likely to be very strong. Now you are comparing that to the import or the demand for FS. And from the demand side, we are seeing some renewed pressure for FS. And if that happens, fundamentally, people who should see the cedi weakening.
He however adds the fundamentals of the economy does not support a stronger currency, adding it will rather boost exports and make it competitive.
If you have a current account deficits, fundamentally you can have your currency appreciating. In fact, even if the capital account, which is the other side, is even getting your currency to be appreciating, it's not really healthy for a country like Ghana if you want to promote exports, because your exports become uncompetitive. So for Ghana, so far as we have a current account deficit, we should not have a strong expectation that the cedi is going to be appreciating, and but again, doesn't mean that short-term appreciation of the currency is unlikely.
He advises the central bank to educate the public not to expect an appreciation of the cedi, as it is not healthy for exports.
It is not a worse situation. It's not like we are not being hit by a currency crisis of sorts that we should be worried. But again, if we send a signal to the market that something severe is happening and we get portfolio investors to react to it, then there's going to be a problem. That clearly, it is true that the fundamentals of Ghana's economy does not support a stronger currency. Even this year, the government itself is expecting a current account deficit of about $4 billion. We are expecting the capital account, due to anticipated bond inflows, to actually be better. But nevertheless, the balance of risk does not indicate that the cedi will be appreciating.
For an import-driven country like Ghana, having imports paid for in dollars with only a $1.8 billion reserve, the pressure on the cedi is inevitable as traders seek notes to exchange. But considering that the local currency dropped from 1.6 to 1.9 to the US dollar last year, declining further from 1.9 to 2 Ghana cedis at the end of the year, cannot be described as that alarming. Abigail Adomakwenchi for Joy News.
The Ghana Stock Exchange is the best performing market in Africa in terms of returns to investors for the first quarter of this year. That's the conclusion reached by Databank's quarterly market research, which ranked stock markets in Africa based on dollar returns to investors. With a little over 45% return, the report ranked Ghana's stock market as the best performer, beating other markets like South Africa, Egypt and Nigeria. In cedi terms, the Ghana Stock Exchange has returned nearly 53% to investors. This is far better than the 23% you would have earned if you had invested in treasury bills, about the average 15% per annum you would have realized on your bank deposit. That's all by way of business.
Sports is brought to you in association with
Smile. You've got Higo. Right, so time for the very latest in the world of sports. My name is George Adi Jr. We start with the Ghana Football Association, and head of the Ghana Football Association Technical Directorate, Otia Kenteng, has told Joy Sports they have not asked any member of the various national women's teams to step aside. Media reports claim the FA, after assessing the one-year mandate handed the coaches, were dissatisfied with the performance. But Otia Kenteng says no decision has been taken yet on the future of the various coaches of the backroom staff as well.
That also hasn't come out, but it's normal. Probably it will come, I don't know, because the mandate given the coaches was 1 year. Yeah, so within the 1 year, the FA must sit down and then assess itself or assess the coaches, the work given to them. If they did it well, they will continue with the FA. But as at now, I can't tell you that whether we have dissolved this. I don't think any of the technical heads, whether we've dissolved any of this, and I don't think there is anything like that.
Right, let's stay with soccer. And former coach of Adriana Stars, Herbert Addo, has tipped former champions Berkum Chelsea to win this year's season's Globe Premier League. Berkum Chelsea, after 24 games, are top of the log, and the former local Black Stars trainer who led Adriana Stars to win the league in their debut season says the Berkum-based side will surely, or they actually have a unique crop of players and technical team, which makes it highly plausible for them to emerge champions. He spoke to Joy Sports.
Chelsea, they have, to me, they have the best crop of players, and maybe they have too many good players, I would say. They are doing very well, and I tip them now from the last result, and having looked at the fixtures, they are my hot favorite now to win the league, because although they are playing, I think they have to play Midiama at home, and that will be a very crucial match. And if they are able to overcome that one, then I think they are on the right track.
Right, so the Globe Premier League definitely set to go down to the wire. Tomorrow we have match day 25 fixtures. The top liner really is Kumasi Santa Kotoko up against Midiama. We'll be giving you and making sure that you're up to speed with everything that happens there. My name is George Adi Jr. That'll be all for sports tonight. Israel will join us with Showbiz. Have a good night.
Sports. Told that Makala market behind the PWD. We have some live footage that we can bring to you right now. Okay, so those are some traders. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Baby, I woman answer and the honor area no man answer say, Miatu Cantamantono, a bet me out to be a Entin Penifone so almost Raya. Young Pontum said your Baya, spirit by a title, I'll be beyond to you. And Tiabono Numana me farm a bag, Yami coffee, me Daliria, ya, me Chiama, Osame, Didia Chia, Kaya, my Baba Dimikaya. After the Amaha will be bomb upon Minkobia. Small girl, be was what Nema may say. One farm a number man on one frame, and a jammed number man or frame or say, Tiasish. I'm see a beam. Tiasi, dear, as she say. And I say, me didn't recall before dropping and buy, ya buy so the nature say, yes, and pa. And I'm a column in the year, Jumas say, well, you know, man, a good chain. Entino. Yeah, Yamia, Adomi, Dudumo, Nasa. You are in no man of Gunchanka, police if one in my point. Then come in Quadamadia on Adiacha because I see a new beer. Me patron, the Anu, Satons, you. Yes, at the crime, just according to police in Innocent, container me and asking to Omaduma. But me family, on young Ramos on Mula. Let us say, a summer woman. I can't come to us. I'm a household that said, yeah, let us say, be woman. Me patron, me dear Fiasa. Well, by now,
Right, so that's some live footage coming in from the Tema Station area. We believe it's all part of the Makula market, where we're told there's another fire. You heard some of the traders, the trader there complaining and talking about the incident. We're staying with the story. We're going to be bringing you some more on this particular story. Right now, though, we'll have to wrap up the bulletin. We're bringing you some showbiz news now. And then subsequently, we're going to establish and get you some detail about the incident. So in showbiz, stakeholders, industry players and members of the tourism, culture and creative arts industry have been challenged to, within 45 days, come up with strategies that will help with the restructuring of the sector. The challenge was thrown at the Stakeholders Forum held today to examine policies, strategies and initiatives to help with the transformation of the sector.
The forum, which was organized by the Ghana Culture Forum in partnership with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, sought to bring all players together under one umbrella so they can chart a common course, strengthening this sector towards development. Senior Presidential Advisor and Chairman, National Development Planning Commission, Mr. P.V. Oben, charged the sector to, within 45 days, come up with a line of attack which will help with the empowering of the sector towards development. It was an open forum, so members and industry players had the opportunity to interact with the sector ministers who were both present at the forum.
We are putting in place a council to coordinate the affairs. I think that we'll put the council in place, and then the council, together with us, will try and do what they have said, try to manage it, and then make sure that the right things from what they said will be used.
The future looks really, really bright for the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Industry, and also for the industry players. The future really looks bright.
So this being the minister's first major assignment after they took office, my curiosity pushed me to ask how they were faring in office.
Well, it's been good. People around me are cooperative. I have the support from members of the ministry.
I'm settling in. I haven't found my rhythm just yet, but I'm sure that with your help, I will make it work.
The forum followed by...
All right, that's it for the bulletin. Before we go, doctors at the public hospitals have called off a month-long strike. Journalists probing unprecedented traffic hold-up on Spintex Road detained by security officers of renowned evangelist Prophet T.B. Joshua. So for line interchange project in Kumasi to suffer further delays over refusal by a homeowner to accept a $500,000 Ghana cedi compensation to allow the road to run through his house. Well, the iconic Adomi Bridge is to be closed for nearly 2 years to allow major rehabilitation works. In the election petition hearing, justices have overruled the petition's objection to the cross-examination of their star witness on the basis of a pink sheet they say should not be allowed. And the very latest on the fire, the latest fire at the Makula market, we're told, has been put out. So that's the very latest. We're told the Tema Station area, there was a fire there, but the fire has been put out. That's it for the bulletin. PM Express is up next, but you can expect that if there's any further updates on the fire, this new fire, the latest fire, we're being told, you get that on PM Express. Have a good night. PM Express with Steve Anti follows next.